Okay, and we're back again. So now it's time for the first of our two fireside chats that I will be hosting, where we aim to dive into why using AI ethically is so crucial across industry. And I'm really delighted to welcome Ajay Bala, the President of Cyber and Intelligence for MasterCard. Under Ajay's tenure, MasterCard has embedded AI technologies across its network, powering key security solutions for more than 75 billion transactions per year and saving billions of dollars in potential fraud. And together, we're going to discuss AI, informing the present and shaping the future. So welcome, Ajay.
Hello, Kate.
It's lovely to have you here. And I've got some questions to ask, which I hope are something that you're very comfortable talking about, which is basically we're going to start with the AI innovation question. So how do we need to think AI innovation in a post-COVID world? Because it's changed in the last 6 months.
Yeah, well, that's absolutely true, Kate. I think we are going through a time as a society which we've never really seen before. Frankly, our generation has never seen a pandemic or a crisis like this. And it's been a very challenging time for everyone around the world. I hope you and your family are safe, and people who are listening to us are all well and safe. But it's a tricky time, and what that has resulted in is a rapid migration to digital technologies. Because if you recall, if you go back to the month of February and March, all of it happened so suddenly. No one was able to go to offices, restaurants were shut down, banks were shut down, and the work had to go on. And I must say, I think as a world and as a society, we did a great job in moving digital very, very quickly. And I think what would have taken us many years for it to happen, it happened in a matter of weeks, which is quite remarkable. And if you looked at banks went online right away, you could do pretty much all your work without going to a bank. All our groceries, all the store stuff, all went digital right away, including education. All schools uh, became online. And in fact, many of those schools are even today doing a mix of online and physical world, and some are completely online. So it's created a completely digital world. And with this entire digital comes the plethora of data that comes along with it. So, we are seeing huge amounts of data because everybody is on their devices and all the work is happening online. And, people are forecasting that consumers, the way it's going on, we will see probably maybe more than 400 exabytes of data by 2025. So when you have this kind of data, AI-driven systems can really help process data, make sense out of their data and, take key decisions, etc. So as you may have read, AI played a major role in medicine research during this time, in vaccine research, in lockdowns and city planning and how beds should move and capacity should move. So in fact, many of our teams work with governments globally and many academic institutions to do this modeling on how the crisis is moving, how the COVID is moving, and in city and hospital planning. So it's been a different world, and I think the way it's going, many of these changes will become the new normal even when everything comes back, and I hope a vaccine comes out quickly, so everything goes back to normal. But I think society has been now exposed to digital the way it has never been exposed before. So I see in my own family, someone who never thought of buying grocery on a website, they're all doing that, and I think
Yeah, I
many of
think
these habits are going to stay on.
absolutely. I think, as I say, whenever things go terribly wrong during, the transition into using tech more, you have to remind people, this is my first pandemic too. We've not been through this
Yes.
before, and it's a
Yeah.
really sudden change. So, I mean, I think to be able to mobilize quickly has definitely been a great advantage, but we shouldn't
Yeah.
really beat ourselves up about things going wrong. So, but it is an opportunity to explore how we can change things, and I think that's really important. And I wonder, what in this new normal going forward. Where are you seeing AI likely to have the biggest impact? What do you think is the next step for AI?
So I think, AI is a very vast field, and I think we're going to see lots of stuff happen in the future. But I think if you were to look at the immediate period ahead of us, is because of the extreme digitization which we are seeing. Pretty much retailers, everybody is thinking of how can I actually accept payments online? How can I sell my stuff online? Right? That's what's happening. Now, when that is happening is actually pretty good because the world can move on, economy is working, all our businesses, majority of our business has very quickly moved digital. So it's very, very good. But along with that comes all the issues of cybersecurity, because people are working from home. The whole environment around us is of anxiety and panic. So, the last few months have been a real issue. And, we've seen attacks on hospitals, on healthcare systems. We've seen attacks on corporations. We've seen attacks on city governments. Uh, and consumers have been the most impacted because, in an environment of anxiety, it's a hacker's haven. The phishing attacks are very commonplace, and fraudulent goods have been sold. So consumers get an email, with a fake email address saying, "Hey, here is a test," or "Here is something important for you." In anxiety, consumers react, open that link, and that's been a huge issue, which has led to many of these attacks. So, we've been working with organizations globally, especially the financial services institutions around the world, merchants who accept cards around the world, airlines, and assisting them with digital solutions which help with cybersecurity and help consumers with cybersecurity. And I think that's going to be one of the most important thing coming out of the pandemic, because the word digitization is easy, but to execute on it smoothly, seamlessly, so that consumers are not impacted by fraud, breaches, uh, and city governments can function, healthcare can function. That is very, very important that we play a very significant resources on these areas.
Yeah, and I mean, when you talk about that, that we are at risk of spam, of phishing, of these cyber attacks. What more can we do to engender trust in AI? What steps can we take?
So I would say there are several steps we are taking as a company to help society with that. So if you look at just the immediate period following the pandemic and during the pandemic, we have taken several steps to secure the whole system. So we put artificial intelligence on our whole network, which we've been doing for some time. But during this period, we accelerated the rollout of many solutions which secure the whole ecosystem. So one of our systems that we put in place, especially for this, for example, has got more than $6 billion just during this year, helping secure the ecosystem. $6 billion, which could have been stolen out of the financial system from merchants and banks. That's a very big save. We've introduced, solutions in the identity theft space, which safeguard consumers. That's also, helping consumers in a very, very big way around the world. And as you look for, I think engendering trust in artificial intelligence is one of the most important things, because as we use more and more of artificial intelligence, making sure that the society has trust in it, consumers have trust in it, and our stakeholders around the world have trust in it is very important. So the way we look at it is we've got very key principles which govern the way we look at AI and how we use AI. So, making sure that, it's ethical, it's fair, and it's secure. These are the principles which are driving how we use AI. And I think that's very, very important as more and more organizations around the world embrace AI. It's very, very important that we do it in such a way that engenders trust in society with AI solutions.
Yeah, so I think that's something that everyone wants to get to the stage of, where we know that we can reassure people that the AI the algorithms used are going to be used in a responsible way. So I think that that's definitely such an important area to be looking at. With AI becoming really ubiquitous across technology innovation, what makes you excited when it comes to enabling or taking advantage of AI in the future? What is there to look forward to?
So this is a very, very exciting space. And, every time, we read about it and try different new technologies, it's like really a very, very fascinating space. Uh, it's akin to like a new electricity that powers our society. Because with all the digitization that's happening, you're going to see all the data. And when you see all the data, and if you can process it very, very well using AI solutions and technologies, then that means society can have a richer life. Consumers can have solutions that can make their lives simpler and richer, and can solve many issues that they face in their day-to-day lives. So I think if you look at the future, I think AI has the capability to completely transform our lives. And if you look at some of the technologies that are getting introduced in the world, like 5G, which is going to completely transform the way data is transmitted and the speed. If you look at the way the Internet of Things technologies are being rolled out around the world, and billions of devices being connected to these 5G networks at great speed, and the kind of data they're going to generate. If you look at all the development which is happening in the field of computer vision and driverless cars, and in natural language processing, and the way future contact centers can become much better at servicing consumers, I think it's going to be a different world. There are already books which have been written by AI, which are pretty okay. They're still not the same as where they should be, but these technologies are developing. And with the advent of quantum computing, I think it's going to be very, very different world. And I think it's going to be a much better world, more convenient world, and an easier world to live in. And I think we just need to make sure, as I said earlier, that we make sure that as we do that, we have policies and principles in place which engender trust, and that we do it ethically, we do it fairly, and we do it securely. The other area I think which is of great importance is talent. And this is a very new field, and a lot of universities and colleges have introduced curriculum in these subjects. It's still a very, very developing field. So we need more and more resourcing, more and more investments, and more research happening in the fields of artificial intelligence. We ourselves work with Oxford and MIT very, very closely in these fields. And some of the technologies that we have worked on with them it's been a very, very fascinating experience. So I'm going to just encourage for our listeners, and for people who are paying attention to the space of AI, that this is a field which will change, and we as a society need to do more and more research.
Absolutely
to
agree.
innovate in
Yes.
this space.
I think there's a lot of excitement. I share some of your enthusiasm for that. I think that the potential that AI has is incredible, but I also agree that trust is a big issue. And you mentioned 5G there, for example, and certainly in the UK, there's a lot of negativity from certain groups who feel that this is some kind of technology that's going to spy or cause illness and all these sorts of things. So I think that, yeah, I agree that sort of education is key to that, and sort of showing that we can create systems that are reliable. But certainly, I think, and in terms of MasterCard, we've not got through this pandemic without the ability in a lot of places for cashless payments, which have really come to the fore. So I think that we're seeing such a rapid uptake of things that were always there, but we've become more and more dependent upon them. So that's been a really interesting space. Yeah. So yes, thank you so much for talking to us today. And I know that for anyone that wants to continue and to talk to Ajay a little more, there's going to be a Q&A in the MasterCard cyberspace. So if you can make your way there, there is I think a link for you, Ajay, in the chat to go there and have continue the conversation there. Thank you.
Thank you, Kate.